All right, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to Next in Line 2026. I'm looking forward to this one for a while. We had a really good planning session and prep session with Sharon Milz, but she is the CIO of Time. And we're fortunate to have her, and she dedicated her time to spend some time with us on Next in Line. And she understands what our mission's about. Our mission always stays the same. It's about paying it forward to the next generation, what we like to call was the folks next in line. And it's across the board. And Sharon, just so you understand, like our community is mostly made up of, C-level, C-suite, but also entire workforce community in IT. So from your kid that, let's say, just got a CS degree or, whatever, right out of school, you're struggling to try to get into the door, or whether somebody just got promoted to a first manager or even a first time C-suite executive. So we're going to have a range of questions and have a lot of fun. Like I said, because, that prep session was pretty good. We forgot about how much time we were on the phone. So if you don't mind, can you do me a favor? No one introduce yourselves and know your background better than yourself. So do you mind introducing yourself and who you are and how you got here?
Yes. Thank you, Cesar. Very, very happy to be here. I know we had to reschedule this one a couple of times. So I'm very excited. We finally made it happen. I'm Sharon Milz. I'm the CIO for Time. And I've been in the technology industry for 20 years plus, across multiple industries. I started in network, got myself, roles expanded, got myself all the way from, infrastructure, cybersecurity, service desk, tech ops, to now leading overall technology space. I'm very passionate about learning new things. And that's kind of one of the reasons why you see, like, how do you went from media to healthcare and then back to media or publisher this time, and started my career in manufacturing. But I think every industry has their challenges, and it kind of mold you as a leader and to help you understand better business. And that's kind of what the reason I do this.
That's awesome. So I'm going to double click on that a little bit later, because I love the fact that you have different industries. And that says a lot too, because a lot of companies that I notice, at least because from my lens, they've always asked me, you need to find people specifically in our industry. And I think it could be overlooked on talent, right? If you need somebody just specifically for domain, obviously it helps, but it's also good to get a fresh perspective, from different sets of eyes, right? So I definitely want to come back to you about that, because I'm sure it had the sets of challenges, right? So you grew up in infrastructure, just like me. So I love that stuff. So I used to think infrastructure people are the coolest people. I don't know. We were the data center, the hard work, crawling under the desk, cabling, you name it. Were you also pulling cable in the beginning? And also want to understand, like, what was your actual first IT job right out of school?
I actually worked for Nortel. Right after, Nortel, the one that went bankrupt. I was upgrading all the PBXs to IP. So I'm kind of dating myself now.
The Meridian?
The Meridians, yeah.
I go back.
I definitely go back. And I always love network. Like, I feel network, when you understand network, you kind of understand the entire umbrella of technology, right? That's the foundation. There's the ones and the zeros. And that helped me. That's kind of one of the things that I feel like helped me in my career to really, like, pick up easy across all the different areas. And another thing that I really love about that job was that I was pretty much working for our clients, right? So I had to go and upgrade. One of my big clients was Verizon back in the day, and I had to go all over the United States, which, I was 20 something years old, and it was kind of the best job in the world. You get to travel for free.
Globally or just domestic?
Just domestic. Yeah, it was mostly domestic. I had a chance to a couple of Caribbean countries. I actually did the 911 system for Dominican Republic, which is where I'm from originally. So that was one of the coolest jobs I had, because I got to reconnect with, like, it was funny because I went back and I'm working with the people I went to college with.
Wow.
And it was pretty cool. Like, it was a long project, but it was a team that implemented 911 for Dominican Republic.
Wow, that's impressive. So, what's cool about how you started in an organization like that is that I think a silver lining that you got to see so many different environments. Usually when you first start your career, you're stuck at this one organization and it might be siloed, right?
Right.
But being in different customer environments, you get to kind of understand how different things work. They're all different. They all operate somewhat differently, right?
Yes, it gives you a lot of different perspective. You take the good, you take the bad. And you
Hmm.
learn a lot, which is the biggest advantage is what you want to do when you're at that age.
Sure. I think that might have like your 1 year experience in doing something like that is probably getting like it's equivalent to having 3 years somewhere else, and
Right.
especially with the traveling, even though it was fun.
Yes, yes, yes. I don't know, and is adapting. It's you're also have a lot of processes, as you know, you're working for a big manufacturer, and then you have to adapt yourself to every single customer has a different process, right? So it's understanding that workflow and how to change that and how to communicate that clearly too. Like it really helps with communication and like um uh ensuring that you have a clear path of escalation and things progress.
So let me ask you this: can we take you back even a little further? So you said you're from DR. You're born and raised, and grew up in Dominican Republic, correct?
Yes, I grew up in the Dominican Republic. I was born here actually, but my parents moved very young. When I was very young, but I grew up. DR is my home. I went to college there. I actually moved to do my master's here. So all my 18 years of my life I lived there. In my adult life, I guess I've been in the United States. I love both places. But I always go home. My parents still lives in the Dominican Republic.
All right. So let me ask you: who believed in you early on? You know, if you had to recall, like who believed you early on, to kind of because you back then. Let's talk like whatever. I'm not saying I don't want to date anybody, but like for me, I've been in the business for 30 years. So early on, like who believed in you? Because coming from DR, NIT, and women, like what motivated you to stay there, like to kind of stick to that?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, my dad. So my dad was an engineer. I kind of always wanted
Props.
to be an engineer. I really wanted to be an astronaut. That was like my dream.
Love
My
that.
my parents didn't want me to leave the country at 7. I graduated school like 16 and a half, and they
Really?
didn't want me
Wow.
to move to the States at such a young age. And so I had to look for something in Dominican Republic within the programs that they had offer there that was closest thing to being like an astronaut, right? That I can make that jump after. Because he was like, after you graduate from college, you can do whatever you want. I'll support you, right? But those 4 or 5 years, you're definitely gonna be here. And then I found out like about IT and about they have programming and they have this robot class and they have this robotic class and computer science, and I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. This seems to be something that I might like, right? Let me I went for that program in the school, and I actually loved it. Like it
That's
was
what
a
started.
it's very different computer science program than the States. It's very broad, so you
Okay.
cover programming, but you also cover telecommunications, you cover networking, you cover robotics, you cover even some classes around design and engineering design. So you get to see a little bit of everything, right? And like it helps you kind of like identify what is the area that you're passionate about, and then you can probably specialize into the particular area, right? And or even jump into a career, and then like you can. A lot of my friends went into programming. Like one of my best friends is in programming. I went network, right? Um,
That's what I was gonna ask.
so
Network.
it
Okay.
gives you a lot of flexibility. And then after that, I was like, no, I really love what I'm doing. I think I'm done with
No
the
astronaut.
no more astronaut. Yeah, unfortunately. And then I went to FIU for my they had a network and telecom master's path. I did
Okay.
that, and that's how kind of right after that I started with Nortel.
So right from that, that's a. So were you like so you graduated at 16, not even 17 years old yet. That's super young. So you were like probably extremely very smart kid growing up.
I like school a lot. I really like school. I was very good at school, including college. But I think that's also that there's not.
You're so humble, by the way.
Thank
You know
you,
you were
but
smart as hell.
there's also like not a lot of limitations around school when you start, like there is here in
Yeah.
the States. You know that you have to wait for like I don't know the exact rules, but it has to do something with like if you're born before September, you can start. Right, so like that
Yeah.
sometimes. So in DR is not necessarily as much as that. I think if you're 4 or 3, 4 years old, you start kindergarten, then you move forward. So that's kind of like, it was like right around 17 because of my birthday when I graduated. So like I started college and I'm like moving to another town and I don't even have a license and I can't have a
Oh,
driver
nothing,
license or
right?
anything like that yet. Right. So So that's when my dad is like, yeah, you're definitely not moving to the States, but it
You're
all
not
worked out.
going.
I
Yeah.
great, I had I think that it was actually really helpful to do it there. I felt like those 4 years is where you really mature as an adult. You switch from that being kid to an adult, and doing it in a community that I trust, that I know kind of gave me that foundation that I needed to feel the confidence that I needed to just move by myself to the States and, pursue my master's degree and pursue clearly my life on myself.
No, that's awesome. I like what you said too. Like the school is a little different in the sense that you get to touch a lot of different areas in IT, not just say I'm going just CS route. Or it was very diverse. Now, was it your school, like the 4-year degree? Was it all IT the whole way, or do you have to do the general stuff that we all have to do in school, like your math, your
Yeah,
science, and all?
it's like 2 semesters or 3 semesters that is like all the generic like math and language and basic, but
It's like
it's
high
kind of like
school again.
it's like high school again, but
Yeah,
it's like maybe 2 semesters of the school that does that, and then after that is all computer
that's not
science
bad.
and engineering. It's really good. It's really like the school and
Yeah,
the arts are really really good. We actually like I think that since you're in this business, right? If you look
yeah.
at recruiting of near
Tell
short,
me.
there's a big engineering. Uh, a lot of companies are reaching out to engineers there because you come out with really good engineers, like strong engineers.
What's the top? Just to plug it in. What's the top like and IT school out there in DR that you went to?
We don't, yeah, I mean, we don't I don't think that's a good thing about it too. Like, there's no focus on like, oh, this school, there's not that many schools, right? I think we have like 6, 7 colleges in total. Like, then they have different, um, uh, entities within like the different cities. But you got, Pucamaima, which is where I went, Pontificia Universidad Católica Madre Maestra. You got, um, uh, man, I'm so bad with names. In Santo Domingo, you got 3, Unive. You have, the UAS is the public one. Um, that one has a little bit more of a challenge because it's a government. Sometimes they do a lot of protests and things like that. So you end up
Takes
like,
longer.
takes longer to graduate. But they're still good school. And then you have Intech is another one. Intech is also like very, very good
And
and across engineering.
check.
Uh, so like overall, but
That's good to
I
share.
would say anybody that graduates from any of these colleges, like Intech, Pucamaima, or Unive, you're coming up with really good talent.
Yeah, because that and just from recruiting in my world, like I would tell you, like we're learning that a lot of even our customer base is taking a different approach. It's like let's grow talent, like let's get even deeper
Right.
earlier, because
Yes.
it's
Yes.
harder
Yes.
to change people. So um, let me ask you this: so kind of skip chapters and bounce around a little bit. Um, when did you realize? So you went from Nortel and as an engineer, and you started doing all that. Probably when did you actually realize? Let's say leadership was in your lane.
Uh, as I started this conversation, I liked IT, technology. It's been on my, it's been that passion of mine for since I started it at college. But
Hmm.
I like to evolve across roles and industries because I want range, right? And the two things that I feel like really shape how I approach leadership today are, first one is like I started in an environment that reliability really matter, right? If that shows me the fundamentals. When systems are down, you understand what matters. You learn ownership, you learn preparation, you learn
Yeah.
to be calm, right, during execution. But you also learn that communication is a critical part of the job. In his stressful moments, clarity is what keeps the teams aligned and moving. The
Amen.
second thing I would say is moving across. That's the same thing that I said. Moving across roles and industry um, taught me that technology fundamentals will stay the same, right? But the business context is going to change every time. So learning to ramp up quickly on what matters, like what customers value, what drives the business, what risks are actually real, what trade-offs leadership is willing to take, right? Understanding those things are going to really help build technology that will solve the actual problems. And then the actual, the biggest lessons I think underneath everything is people. In every role that I've seen that is that performance come down to to whether the teams feel safe and honest. When people are afraid to look wrong, they are going to hide problems, and those issues show up later, and they're going to be expensive. So I try to lead in a way that makes makes them feel safe, right? That they can raise the concerns early, they can ask questions, and they can fix without blame. That's how I believe, you build strong teams and avoid surprises and keep a trust high.
That's not that. I love that, by the way. I mean, that's great. Let me ask a couple of questions on that. So, how do you actually? Because that's not overnight. Like to build that trust where they can. Because you're right. People they all want to be successful. They all want to do well, but things happen, and you need them to be really, upfront. It's okay to admit or take ownership. But how do you get to that point? Like, is there like a best practice or like a timeline it takes?
I don't think that there is a timeline. I think you gotta show by example. I think you have to live what you preach. That's huge. I always said I had it easy because I started with them, right? Like a lot of the roles that I've been, I was part of that team, and I just show my leadership, and I got promoted. But they already knew, or they already know that hey, she's talking what she means, which is I've seen her, I've done it. In roles where I started new, like my current role,
Right.
for
Right.
example, right? It was different, but from the beginning, it's like when I made a mistake, I say, hey, I messed up. This is what, and I, and when somebody made a mistake, I was there for them. Like, why do you make the mistake? How can we fix it? How can we ensure that next time that doesn't happen? Right? We take it as a lesson learned. We take it as an improvement. We take it as education. And I think that unless you know that a mistake was done, that it wasn't a purpose mistake, because that's the big difference, right? That's going to happen. It's kind of how you manage. And I think that's when people understand, like, oh, and also like open up, right? I think the big thing is they have to feel part of a team. You have to ensure that every idea counts. It doesn't matter where it comes from. That's part of that trust, right? Like, hey, guess what? It was Cesar that came out with this thing that we just did that actually, we're implementing, and make sure leadership's know, right? And make sure that the credit is given to the person. Because when they come back and they say, and somebody else comes and say, hey, by the way, great job with this, they're going to feel part of that team. They're going to go, oh, they actually listened to what I said, right? It doesn't matter the role. It doesn't matter the position. And I think that's part of that, building that trust in that community.
That goes a long way, because I'm sure
It
that
goes way more
along
than we think.
yeah. Did you experience some of that? Like you had some leaders in your, some mentors before, if you don't mind sharing, like that you felt like, wow, man, they included me in that. And how did that make you feel?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I mean, across the board, that's kind of the reasons I always say you learn the good and the bad, right? From leaders. Like, you try to not imitate the things that kind of like still gives you nightmares, but you really try to get the best part of it. I had a leader that put me in truly the boardroom, way younger than I expected, or way in the role that I was not expecting to be. I was, I think, a senior manager, right? And I'm presenting this huge project to the entire board about changing, like, I remember it was something around SD-WAN, right?
Okay.
And like, I remember how nervous I was. I remember the feedback she gave me after the fact, right? Like, all those things helped me prepare better, right? But she gave me the chance. She puts me in the room. She gave me that visibility that I needed, right? And that really skyrocketed, like, my career and my confidence too. Like, that constant feedback too always helped. So I've always pushed people, like, it's not, mentorship is being in the moment, giving that space, and giving the light to that person, but also provide
Mhm.
that feedback as soon as you can.
I love that. And so how nervous were you the day before that meeting?
Oof. Yeah, if you know me, I get stressed. I mean, I overthink everything. So that I wasn't sleeping for like a week.
Yeah. And a lot of PowerPoint, just how many drafts did you go
Tweaking and
through
sending
before?
back. Yeah. No, doing the numbers again. It was great. It went great. It went much better than I expected.
Yeah. You absolutely, some of that, call it a healthy fear. It always works out, man. It wasn't that bad. Actually, it went better than I thought. Well, you prepared your
Because
ass
you
off for it,
prepare it.
really.
Yeah.
Right.
It's always, I'm not, I don't love public speaking. It's something that I'm trying to do a lot more, and getting myself
You should.
comfortable. Like, I'm starting to enjoy it, but I still get very nervous, right? And after every single panel that I do, after every single conference that I speak at, I was like, why was I nervous? Like, it was great. Like, everybody loved it. But
You crushed it.
until to the point of actually doing it, I'm so nervous. I'm like, why do I always say yes to these things if I know I'm going to have a hard time? But I think that goes back to that, like, you got to do the uncomfortable things. Those are the things that make you better.
So happy to hear you say that. Let me hit that real quick because I think that's the biggest difference. And I wish, I try to do everything I can to kind of get with my team members about like, be uncomfortable, man. Live there, man. Trust me. That's where the learning is, right?
I
That's where it
agree.
happens. I mean, you can skyrocket your career if it's okay to live comfortable. I think it's okay to live comfortable for a long time, like in seasons of it. Because if you're not, like, you're not either learning or taking challenges and stuff like that,
I mean, the stress roles are supposed. Whenever you feel stressed or you're not prepared, you're supposed to feel uncomfortable, right? Like
it's okay.
if you care about something, if you care a lot, um, you're never gonna feel ready. Like that's just the way it is. Like that's part of it. But remember, from my perspective, it's not about feeling ready. It's about thinking that you can do it and then go in there and learn as you go.
That's awesome.
You gotta
Well,
take the opportunities.
and just, from the outside looking in, just, just for whatever it's worth, like I see you in the community, like you're active, active. I don't know if you feel that way, but I could tell you you're active, Sharon. Like, we hang out at Inspire CIO, a great organization. Now love to talk a little bit about the CIO Council a little bit, but everything you're doing, also what I really like is you're passionate about, giving back, like paying it forward into respects to STEM and, women, early on in their career. So do you mind sharing a little about like why that's like top of mind for you? Because you're a busy person too. You have a big job.
I think, yeah. I mean, I wasn't as active. I'm getting there, and I feel like I can still do more. Um, I'm loving that the South Florida community has really been engaging, and like a lot more has happened in the past couple of years. I'm part of three different groups. I help support another group. One of them. So I got Tech Florida Kids, which is just started. That group just started 2 years ago. That's a group that we're starting to focus on younger kids. Most of the programs that you have in South Florida
Like
are
that.
more for high school and college. This is to try to get kids engaged at a very young age. You think about middle school, even before middle school, right? And like from areas where they don't have a lot of funds. Like our focus is kids that really need help. And I have gone from providing equipment, like think about laptops, iPads, to providing summer camps. Like this summer we sent out I think it was like 10 kids to ninja camps, the ninja coding camp,
Oh,
right?
nice.
And it was like we're trying to like engage the community more, to try to get even more kids next year, this summer.
Pretty cool.
That's a community pretty much run by leaders in the community, CIOs, people on the vendor side. A lot of engagement there. Very, very happy to see. So it's like, think about it like starting young, then you go to the CIO Council, right, which is kind of high school to college. Got a lot of, we've tried to provide scholarships for kids that want to pursue STEM careers. They've been doing this now forever. I'm, so happy we have new leadership with Joe Hernandez as a
That's a good guy.
president, and myself as a vice president. We're working closely to try to revamp it, try to engage, create new programs within there. Think about internships, trying to find internships for these kids outside of the the scholarships that they get for college. But mentorship, I think that's going to be critical. How to build a mentorship program for these kids where they can be tied to a leader in the community and kind of learn and get advice on just life. Think about it, right? You're going to college, so a lot of these kids are going to college for the first time in their family, right? Having
That's
somebody that
right.
they can bounce ideas or problems with, right? Then I'm also support the women organization South Florida, which is by Claire Marrero. She's been providing scholarships to women that are going into STEM for years, and this is something that really hit, it's close to my heart. When I was at college, I was like, there was like 6 women in the entire program, right?
No,
When I went to my
wow.
master's, there were like 2 women in the entire program. So every room that I've been to, we have Black representation, right? And I think as and you work in this industry as a recruiter, so you understand like what's the ratio, right, between women applying to jobs versus men applying to job. And we always talk about, how do we change that in the current workspace? And I don't think there's a lot we can do there, right? Because we don't have the number of women that have graduated and applied. But I think the big change is going to happen by supporting that next generation of women that are
Absolutely.
going to STEM and that stay in those careers. If you look at the numbers,
Right.
it's incredible the number of dropouts of young women that drop STEM careers at year 2 or year 3 because they
I
don't
didn't
really
realize
have
that.
a support system. Yeah, it's they most of the people in that career in their classes are guys, are men, right? And you look at all their marketing, they have this group of support. You need support, no matter where you are. If you're working, if you're at college, right? And I think providing some sort of mentorship and partnership where when they feel, in a lot of this women in Oregon, women mentorship other women's, right? People that went through this already. I think that's very helpful. Like having somebody that been through that and be like, hey, how do I tackle this situation? Or I'm getting kind of tired of being in this role. I don't like this career. You think I should change? Or what advice do you give me? Right? All the stuff I think is really important. And having that's why I'm very proud of the work that Claire is doing with that group. And then lastly is, the Inspired CIO network, which a lot of work on college graduates and finding that next role and things like that. So it's like thinking about it when they're young, all the way through actually
I
when
was
they
going to say
graduate.
you're covering like the whole life cycle, right?
Yeah, very
And
very cool.
that's
Like
great.
I'm very happy that that our South Florida community has that. We
It's
have those
great to see.
offerings.
And how long? So you basically grew up in this market,
Yes,
from
yes, yes.
school
This been
straight up.
home pretty much, right?
Right. Same here. I'm surprised we didn't know each other before, because
I know,
I feel
right?
like that's just why we had to meet at least a couple different times, especially infrastructure. No way. I used to pull cable myself. So a long, long time ago. But let me ask you this. So let's jump into, and by the way, a lot of props to you on stuff like this because not a lot of people are doing this stuff, especially I understand what the life of a CIO does. And people may not I think they underestimate how big the role is and how integrated a CIO role is within every aspect of the business. It's probably one of the biggest roles that's in every piece of department they're involved in at some point. So I'm actually starting to see some cool things too, where I'm starting to see some CIOs, COO, CEO. I'm starting to see that more because most companies are becoming technology companies now.
Technology companies, yeah, absolutely. And now more than ever with
Mm-hmm.
Gen AI, right? And the impact of Gen
Cool.
AI in the business. I think and this is very important for CIOs and leaders. You gotta really understand the business. It's no longer the case where technology is all that matters. Like you really have to understand the business, the impact, and how technology can change the business.
I
Um,
like it. I got to give a
that's
shout
gonna
out to
be
this CIO that I got introduced to. He's out of Houston, a good friend, an Inspire guy too. And he told me, he made a statement. He goes, IT is the business. Straight up. I was like, man, that hit me pretty good. I was like, you know what? I agree. I think IT has a bigger seat at the table more than
yeah.
anybody.
I don't remember when I read this, but I was reading this thing the other day where it literally said, we have to every company is going to become a technology company. And think about it that way, right? If every company becomes a technology company, every company needs to have a technology leader.
And even bigger, like some of these bigger companies, like the enterprises, they have offices of CIOs. They have multiple C-levels, CTOs, CIOs, CITOs, like in the same organization. So it's really expanding. It's tremendous. It's come a long way. So let me ask you this. So let me take you back here. I know you're an engineer. You grew up there, and you probably love that stuff. It must be interesting because you actually know this stuff being on a meeting. So they can't pull things by anybody, right? You know exactly how long things should take and things like that. But I want to know is when were you tapped on the shoulder for the first time into the C-suite?
It was actually for this role. It was actually here a time. I was brought in from an old mentor, in CIO, which by the way, he left and led me here. But then we had we have a new leadership, Jess and Mark, which have been unbelievable supportive, since their start. So I kind of, took up that I was doing the role for probably about a year between like when the CIO left, or he was kind of CIO CTO left, um, and we identified the replacement, which in that case they just gave me the promotion. I came in as a VP,
Oh,
pretty much a VP of IT,
okay.
and then was elevated to this role. Um, and I think it was part of that. Like it was part of proving myself, to new leadership. It was, Jess, I think, has been in the role for about a year. So I was in the company for about a year when Jess started. I was still kind of the VP. Then the person that was changed in leadership, and we had that gap for about, and kind of I stepped up and I was managing this, supporting them, ensuring that business run as usual. Pretty much, there was no impact, and they gave me the chance. It's
Congratulations, man.
and thank you. And it's been 2 years now, 3 years,
Has
2 years
already?
it's been 2 years. Yeah, it's been, wow, time flies. And
Yeah,
we've been doing an incredible things. The support I've got from Jess and from Mark has been unbelievable. A lot of really neat, cool ideas. We have implemented a lot of new technology. We're on the forefront of the publishing side about using AI. We just launched our Time AI
nice.
experience on site last month. It's called Time AI. We're very proud of
Okay.
it. You got to go try it.
I gotta
Pretty
check that.
much, if you want to learn about news, the way that Time writes, that's
Mhm.
you can literally
I
interact with
love it.
any article we've ever written.
Oof. That's that's pretty exciting. I mean,
Very, very.
but in your background too, like, some infrastructure, along the way, but you also served in different roles, right? Along the way, right? Not just all infrastructure, or did you actually do it in application development, QA? Did you get a good breadth of different things before you got?
That's an area that I've done more here. I had a lot of separation in the other. I've always been close, right? Because I supported all my previous role. I pretty much supported, net infrastructure, the tech ops, service operations, and things like that, right? Which works very closely with your application developer team. But it has been more of a supporting structure. Like, what do they need? How do we build the cloud infrastructure that they need? And things like that. DevOps. Think about DevOps. I always manage DevOps. So there's always there's always been that close
It
relationship.
was always, yeah,
Yeah.
converged.
And of course, I have that background from school, as I mentioned, like, as part of my computer science program. So I've always had that understanding. Now here at Time has been a lot more broad, where like I had a lot more oversight of that department, like work a lot closer with products and things like that too. So it's been one of the reasons I love this job is because I've grown so much across all areas. I've learned new things in technology that I've never had experience with before. But I also learned a lot more from a business perspective. I'm more engaged with the business than I've ever done in any other organization. Also because of the wages, we're that we work as a brand, right? We are a very impactful brand, and a lot of the things that we do end up merging with the technology, which it's been fascinating to explore. Like, it's something that's very unique to my role versus other roles that I've had in the past.
This is excellent. So now so you're officially a veteran now, right? 2 years. You're a veteran now.
I feel like I'm still learning a lot. I still got a lot to learn.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because that's another question I want to ask. Like, how important it is, continuous training and development in any role in IT.
You have to always think about that. I mean, think about our roles. The technology is a fast-paced environment. It's constantly changing. It doesn't matter where you are. A couple of years ago, it was all about cloud. You recall, right? Like, you as an infrastructure person, right? Everybody had to learn. You need to learn cloud, or you're not going to have a job, right? Now we're going through the same thing with Gen AI. You need to learn how to manage Gen AI. You need to understand how to build using Gen AI. You need to understand how do you protect. How do you deploy Gen AI in your organization in a trust in compliance way.
Absolutely.
So you're learning an entire new thing, and like adaptability is going to be is critical in
that's good.
in IT roles. Is not, you got to have your foundation is there, and that's critical. But having the ability to adapt and understand that you have to keep learning, it's critical. I think that's what's going to keep you moving role to role.
Oh, absolutely. And I think a trap that I've heard, I've heard, like, I remember when cloud came out, I remember this financial institution said, we're a financial institution. We will never be in the cloud ever. We're always going to be.
I remember that from healthcare too. Like, the healthcare was like, oh, what about PII and like this and where we are now. Yeah, it's the same thing. I remember like 2 years ago when Gen AI came out, we're never going to see Gen AI, or we're never going to do this. And like, right? It's similar. Like, it doesn't matter if you think you're not going to be able to use it, you still have to learn it, because is going to come to you one way or another.
You nail that, because I think there's assumptions there that are traps. Like you have to. If you just look at history, it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. And it's because right now I feel like the ones that are really truly want to have a technology mindset, like it's like we're a technology company. That's what they got to realize. They have to evolve, and this thing is moving faster than I've ever seen before with Gen AI.
Yeah.
I
No,
feel
yeah,
like
absolutely.
there's
This
no
is going to be
18 month.
embedded. This is not 18 months. This is embedded into the things that we do. This is going to be embedded into the way I see it. This is kind of like, how everybody, way before our generation, right, had to learn how to use Microsoft Word and Microsoft Excels for finance, right? And think this
Yeah.
is what, every person needs to be AI fluent. How do you use AI in your day to day? How do you use AI? And it doesn't have to be this is not just focused on IT and technology, right? But every user for any company has to understand how do they use AI in their day to day to do their job better.
Would you make it, because I think this is a good opportunity for HR, like CHROs and CIOs to even converge faster, because you're right. I think anybody coming to an organization, whatever the role is, should have some level of fluency, or we have to provide that type of, they get up to speed resource that we provide and get fluent. And HR, they're supposed to be, part of it should be proactive in talent development and partnering, because it can't be all on the CIO, right?
Right.
You have a job, you have other things you have to deliver, and you have to lean on your peers as well.
Agreed.
So,
I mean, and this is a responsibility across the board now. It's across every leader. I always say that this strategy starts on the top. It starts at the CEO and down. And that's how we actually manage that here at Time. Is the AI ownership is at our CEO level, is at Jess, and Jess is the one making it. Hey, this is a personal goal for every single part of the company. Like, we have to use AI in a way that's productive. That it's and I feel like every company at this point has that as part of their company goals.
absolutely. I mean, especially how much easier it is to get things done when you have that level of support at that high.
Right.
Then it's
It
everybody's
shouldn't. It shouldn't
responsibility.
be. I really don't believe that you're going to make change if you just think it's a CIO strategy. This is not longer a CIO strategy. Has to be seen as a company strategy, with every leader within the company is taking ownership of that.
So let me ask. No, that's a great. So wait till the marketing team gets a hold of this. They're gonna have a field day. You got dropping nuggets and statements everywhere. This is gonna be a good one. So let me ask, what keeps you up at night as a CIO in your job? You've been there for 2 years.
So I have a kind of a mixed role, because I'm the CIO and the CISO. So, and we're a media
Wow.
company in a
So you
world
got
where,
two jobs.
yes, I do. And one of the things that keep me up at night is making sure that the website is protected, that we didn't post something that somebody didn't like and brought us down, or even worse, our system get compromised and they post something that doesn't represent the brand. And like, our trust is everything that we have. That's our that's that value, and like, we have to protect that. So that's one of the things and this world's constantly changing. There's newer, more sophisticated attack, more risk
Isn't
every day. So
it's
like,
scarier
so
than ever,
exactly.
right?
So I think one of those things is that, and then is also thinking about, um, publishing is changing, right, with Gen AI. Like, the way that user consume content is changing. So for me, trying to understand what that is going to look like, right? Working very closely with the leaders in my organization to try to figure that out. I don't think we don't know the answer to that yet. And now you can see in the last year, there's been a lot of changes on how you interact with content, right? I think there's going to be more personalized,
Mm-hmm.
things for accessing content the way that you want to, read the news. You can listen to it, you can interact, via chat, audio, or things like that. So I think that this year is gonna be a lot of that. Like, how do we ensure that we stayed ahead of the game and figured out what that future of publishing looks like?
Yeah. Wow. So everything you mentioned in that, the first thing that I asked myself is like, you must, in order to kind of tackle any of this stuff in any organization, you guys have to have a very collaborative, like, executive team together. How important is that? Right? Because this thing is moving too fast. Like, the risk is not moving fast enough.
Yeah, I mean, we've one of the things that I gotta give credit to as well, to my leadership team, is from 2 years ago, we form a AI committee with leaders in the organization, and we meet constantly. Like I remember it was biweekly, or yeah, I think it's biweekly that we meet as a team where we address some of these conversations. We address strategy plans and things like that. So we've always been, it goes back to what I mentioned, like, hey, this is at the CEO level, right? So we got to bring it down, and that part of the conversation, the collaboration has helped us get to where we are right now, right? I think that has been one of the reasons we've been so successful.
That's phenomenal. Again, having support like that is, you got to make the job easier, better, right? Not necessarily easier, but better, right? Let me ask you this. Since you're that veteran, 2-year veteran, we'll call you a vet. So, I just get promoted into a CIO job. I just got in, been in there 30 days. I'm coming, Sharon. Give me some advice. What kind of, like, maybe 3 top things would you share with somebody that's objectively, like, in the role?
It's a great question. I think the first thing is be patient. I think there's a lot of things that you're going to be surprised or you're not going to understand. Trust yourself is the second thing. It's very important that you continue to trust yourself. You got there for a reason. They would not have chosen. Yeah, right. It's
Can you give me
you
just
got
a
there.
virtual high five right there? Come
There you
on,
go.
Sharon. I love it. I love
And
it.
then that's the most important. Don't be afraid to speak up. Trust yourself. And the last one is, like, there's really not much different probably from the role that you were doing before. Just
That's a
a
good
couple
point.
more responsibilities got added, right? But you were doing a lot of it already. So focus on the things that are new. Try to learn this as quick as you can, right? Which probably are going to be more focused on the business side, right? Because I feel like that's going to be the main big difference between what that person was probably doing before and now just stepping into this role. So try to focus on those different things so you can learn them quickly, and and being able to catch up as fast as you can to deliver results as soon as possible. But I would say be patient, trust yourself, and identifying those differences so that you can learn them fast.
I like what you said there. That's what I said. You got there for a reason, right? You know,
Right.
it's like
That's
that little voice in the back, that we know of on the way
We're
to
always
work.
gonna have
You know
doubts.
your
We're
gut.
always gonna have doubt, but you gotta trust yourself. Like you got there because you know what you're doing.
That's so important. So how important it is to have, let's say, like an internal, your internal network, like your internal, like, circle.
Huge. I mean, I think my friends at some point hated me because I do have a lot of, like, I've been very lucky. I got a couple of amazing mentors throughout my
Uh-huh.
career that I still, that start as mentors and they're like really good friends now.
That's all.
Um, and I got a lot of, I got a big community as well, friends in the space, and that always helps, right? My first to goes are always my mentors. Like, hey, I'm having this issue. How do I manage a situation like this? Have you experienced something like this in the past? What's your advice? What do you think? Right. And kind of get their perspective. It's always good to have a different perspective of what, you got to be careful how you share it, but like it's always good to bounce things. And then also like inspire CIOs and networks like that also help. Right.
Sure.
You'll be surprised. I've only been with this network for about a year, but it's been really interesting on like, we're all going through something. We all been through something. We all learned something, right? So save
Absolutely.
yourself time. I'm like, hey, Cesar, or not Cesar, but we ask, hey, has anybody had experience with this product or with this platform, or have you like, what do you mind, talking to me about what you experienced, right? So I don't
That's
make the
so
same
important.
mistakes. That's very important. And I think having that community has been incredible
Yes.
to be part of my success.
That's huge. And I think it can evolve all the time. That circle expands. Sometimes you not necessarily replace, but, like, you go through different, you need to maybe, recruit even other people to backfill in certain circles,
You
right?
need no, and also exactly. You never like you have, and also having a different perspective. I know I have a lot of really good friends on the vendor side, on the manufacturing side, right? On the recruiting side, and like even with help with like, hey, I don't know how to tackle this real structure, or like, things are changing now with like the AI world, and what type of roles are going to be fitting the right for my needs and things like that, and just understanding how others are doing it, right? So having a good team that you trust, a good amount of community that you trust, like trust is important. that you can connect and like figure out those challenges as a new CIO is going to be very important. I think as you come into this role, having the support system that helps you outside of work, it is always good.
Something I gotta. I'm a little bit like just say shit all the time, right? I'm just observing something real quick through our conversation, and you ever stop to say something like this, Sharon? Like, you're pretty pumped about what you did. You should be. You've done a lot, short
You
period of
know
time.
that we don't stop to do that a lot, but the other day I can remember who I was having a conversation with, and like we were talking about like things that very simple. It was things that we've accomplished in a time, and I was like, man, this has been pretty cool. Like for real, like in the last two
Sure.
years, it's been a complete. I mean, I'm still a shock at so much that we have done for an organization our size, and I think let's go back to trust, collaboration, and like believing in ourselves, right? Like we take risk and
Risk. Ooh.
and risk is huge. It's important. Like, hey, we believe in this. We're going to take the risk and go for it. And that has been very successful for all of us.
I gotta ask you. Guy, this is getting fun now. All right, so this is this is all good. Just different state. It's all been good, but this is I got some good ones for you. So you have been in those scenarios along your career that you had to make a decision. You weren't the pop. It wasn't a popular decision for you. You had to do it.
Yeah.
And how do you
It
manage with that?
happens. It's I think that's part of that's part of the job at this point, right? We all know, and I think it's never easy. It's never going to be easy, but you got to do, that's part of like where you do the analysis, right? What makes sense, what doesn't make sense, how do you do it in the more humane thing, how do you approach it in the best way possible, um but you got to do what's best for the business, right? And I think that's the end goal. And I think that the way I handle that, or the way I manage myself in those situations, is like, how do we make those bad decisions, or those decisions that are sometimes extremely hard to do, in the best way possible with the best results that we
How
can
do you manage
tolerably do.
that's a great answer. But like, just to double click a little bit, how do you deal with, let's say, because some people may not, you know, let's say be happy about it, or like, I don't want to, lack of a better word, hold it against you or something like that. Like, just because, maybe it became uncomfortable for them, but it was the right thing to do for the company. I mean, there's nothing you can do about
I think it has to do with the conversation too. I mean, and there's gonna be people that no matter how good you try to do, or how well you do the conversation, or how try you manage, it depends on the level of maturity of that person too, and the level of consciousness, right? Um,
it. Can't make everybody
there's
happy.
always going to be somebody that's unhappy, right? That's what I said. You gotta how's the word? Like, I don't necessarily want to say comfortable, because it's never comfortable, but you have to be comfortable with the way that you manage it, is the best way you could have done it in a very difficult situation. Think about it when it's like, I always say that when parents do something to their kids because they're not behaving right, you always feel bad, but you try to do it in a way that's just, right? In a way that's it's kind of, I wouldn't say similar, but it's kind of like the comparison of somebody's always going to be unhappy. Um, you have to do it in the best that if it's respectful, if it's, you're thinking about how do you manage that correctly. I think it's but it's always going to be the case, right? Like, I think it's always going to be communication critical, respect, and why are we doing these things?
Absolutely. I can tell you though, like, like you said, the children, like back in the day, like, I don't think there was too much, like, analyze it too much. My mother had the quickest reflexes on the world, man. Like, she would throw a chancleta
Same.
real quick, even if I didn't even do anything. Right? So
Right.
now they think about it before they do it. But you're right. What are you going to do? Like, you have to make tough calls. That's what you're there for. Um, and how about, have you been in a situation so far where you had to make some calls that, maybe they weren't the right call?
I think so. Yeah. I think, the way I see that though is you have to make the decisions, like, the decisions with the information that you have that you think are the best for that moment. Um, you always got to go back and like, hey, this could be different, but you have more information at this point than you had back in the day, right? So I think that's kind of the way I see it. During that time, with the information that I had on that time, I made the best possible decisions I could have done. Um, and I think that's critical for you to learn and move forward. I don't think you can always go back to the errors that you made I think you got to take them as a lesson. Maybe you do learn a lesson. Hey, maybe I should have looked for this instead of this, right? And like going forward, I'm going to use that as a way to learn and be better, right? When that decision has to happen again. But I think a lot of decisions that you normally made, you look back, you had only the information that you had, and you only couldn't make the decision that you could at that point.
That's true. And also it's a good opportunity to take ownership too, right? That's
right.
probably the big lesson. Like you could show them like, hey, I think part of things like with leadership is like vulnerability. Like I'm going to make a ton of mistakes. I know 2026 is the plan and this is the strategy. I'm sure, I don't know if it'll all work out, but I sure will definitely try to make sure they all do work out. But they all don't.
There was a mentor that always told me this, like we have a goal and that goal, we know what it is, right? But it's not going to be a straight line. That goal, we're going to end up going like this, or we might end up going all the way through back and then go forward. But you got to learn that we got to just keep going through, right? Until we get to that goal. And I think that's huge. And that's part of like failing, learning, fixing it and stepping back up and keep working and keep doing it.
So again, related to sports, like, the best, there's half times for a reason. They make adjustments and then you wind up winning. I love that. Well, Shannon, there's a ton of things that, we're definitely going to have like a super part 2, maybe even part 3. But I'll tell you, like, what I see, like, it's a short period of time, like, you're super involved with the community. So I got to give you a lot of props to that, right? That's huge.
Thank you.
And the same time, you're taking on a new job, right? And a new first time CIO for the first time. So, like, do you sleep?
So, I it's just me and my dogs. So that makes it, I think, a little bit easier.
How many?
I got 2 dogs. They're right outside my door. If I would have left that open, you'll see them like literally walking by. They're always here. So that gives me a little bit more time, I guess, than others. But I think you make time. I think it's part of making that a priority and figure, because we do it with everything else, right? So I think that that's one thing I want to encourage leaders is like, I know we're all busy. I know that we're doing a lot. Make it a priority. Like even if it's a couple of hours a month, that's more impactful than we think.
Absolutely.
That's I want to give. Like try to make some time to help the next generation. I think that's going to be very impactful.
That's what I admire about that. Like you're using your platform not just for yourself, right? You're paying it forward for others, and
yes,
you're passionate
absolutely.
About it. Because I know I know what all these things, I know how hard it is to get these organizations.
I had a lot of help to get to where I am, and a lot of mentorship and a lot of support and a lot of other people that pull me up, right? So I think we got to do the same.
That's phenomenal. I'm trying to see, like, if I had to fast forward, right? Let's say, with the age of AI, right? It's so super fast. Like somebody told me the other day, it's like, we can't even think of years. We got to think of months.
Yeah, right? That's true.
Yeah. And I was on yesterday, the podcast with this kid. He's like not even 25. And he's got an organization called Alex AI. It's amazing. I mean, the amount of stuff that the kid's doing is out of my mind. And he's taught me a lot. I was like, so you never know where you're getting your sources from, right? But what do you think for yourself, if you had to script your own way, right? 12 months from now, what are you trying to what are you trying to accomplish?
Now you put me on the spot, Cesar.
We got editing.
We're just starting the year, and I don't want to sound like I'm like I don't know. Like, to be honest, I think I'm trying to figure that out yet. Like I think that there's a lot of things that we want to do. I don't really want to share them yet. But it's a lot of things that we want to do. Like the bucket is getting bigger, and like we want to try to accomplish as much as we can.
I love that. What I like about that too, the reason why I asked is that you're doing so many good things in different lanes. And I just think positive things come from that. You know what I'm saying? And when people do good things. So like, and not just, for financial gain, right? You're doing things that you don't have to do, Sharon. So I got a lot of love for that. Seriously.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And you have to teach me golf. Because
for sure,
I definitely don't have the right approach.
We got to take advantage of the weather right now. This is the best time to play some golf in South Florida.
We got to figure out what the best time for you, because I'm more flexible than you. Like I can figure it out, but you got your stuff going on. But I'm fine with taking calls on the golf course too. So I understand.
Weekends work better for me, but let's figure it out.
Okay. So if you had to just kind of let it to the community, like to pay it forward, let's say for a couple of different communities. One, let me know give it like, what would you want everything that you're spending so much time with the kids from early age to college? What kind of message you want to send to them real quick?
This is the best time to be in this space. Like there's so much that's going to change. I think one of the things is be curious, be adaptable are the two main things. Like I think that you literally can, every kid now right now is going to be able to build their own future. Like everything's changing. There's really not going to be like when we had it where like it was you got to do this, you're going to do this, right? Like everything's changing. We're going to have a blank canvas. Like there's going to be new jobs that are going to come out. There's going to be new technologies that are going to come up, right? So it's an exciting time, I think, for the young generation. I think it can be scary too, because a lot of change, right? But with change comes really great opportunities. So I think it's take advantage, be curious, ask a lot of questions, don't be afraid, and be curious. I think that's critical.
I love that. Something I try to tell my squad is like, for a long time, is like, be good at change.
Yeah, you got to get yourself used to change.
You gotta,
That's
like,
when
and
that's when you learn. That's when you grow. That's key for growth.
yeah, you don't look like you like to stay comfortable, by the way.
I don't I
You
like
take
to be
stuff
in
on.
uncomfortable. Yeah, I like to challenge myself. It's one thing like I say, like I like to challenge myself.
And there are a couple more communities I want to hear from you about, like advice that you would like to give. So let's say the C-suite, that person that just got into that C-suite, or just the C-suite community in general. What kind of message you want to send out to them based on everything with, this evolution that we're going through
What do you mean in the sense of like for the next generation or like for themselves?
for themselves? We're getting
I
into
think it
like,
goes back. It's literally. I
yeah,
think the advice we just gave to the kids goes back to the
good.
CIOs too.
You're
I
right.
feel like this is I think this is an opportunity where we all have to ensure that we're staying curious. We learn like this is all new for everybody, um, and we have to ensure that we're trying to keep up with the change. This is the fastest I've seen technology change. Like every day there's something new. Every day, like there's literally something new. And I know sometimes can feel overwhelming. But always go back to the fundamentals. Like we're doing this for the business to make an impact to the business. How does that tie into those changes? I think that's kind of like the critical thing is always go back to the business and keep up, man. It's gonna be tough, but
No,
keep up.
100%. I like what you said there because I think that's so critical. Like making sure that you're aligned, like CIOs or in any type of IT executive role that it's aligned with the business wants and needs.
Yeah. That's critical. I think
That's
for our success of us, our role is that, right? It translate business needs into technology. Um,
I got another one I got for
requirements.
you that's a little bit like, I don't know. I don't think I've ever asked this one before, but I gotta know. What do you have to say, or like, advice would you give, let's say, the vendor vendor partner community?
They're your partner. I always see the vendor partner community as an extension of my team. Like they need to be a partner. I don't think is a transactional thing. Like I personally pick my partners because they're partners. It's supposed to be a win-win situation, right? It shouldn't be transactional, and I think that we really have to leverage it that way, right? Like, and the partners too, right? Like the partners need to see a way to how do I make Sharon successful? If Sharon's successful, I'm successful, right? I think that's critical. And I've been very lucky, like the community, like the partners that I work, the community that I work with and engage. I think that has always been that case.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, I think that and sometimes, being a partner, to me, when you cross that vendor to partner status is like being proactive and also like providing information that doesn't have to, let's say, it might not financially benefit us. It's nothing to do with that. It's just about making sure that my customers are successful. Are they aware? Because we try to take this fiduciary responsibility, like that's my customer. I need to make sure they're in the right. They're in the know about this. Whether I don't. I can't assume that they know. So I'd rather them tell me, yeah, thanks for letting me know. We already know. But if we know things, being a good partner means
And I was
sharing
gonna
that.
say, yeah, that's another thing too. Like you gotta be transparent to like what does that success looks like, right? For them to in order to for them to help. Sometimes I think we work in very big silos. Like, oh, I'm only going to give this information. But if they don't have the full picture, it's going to be hard for them to be able to help and support.
I love it. Yeah, no, that's a good one. I just jotted. I'm still old school. Still, even though with all these AI note takers, I still write stuff down
I
because my
mean, that's the
memory
way
is
we
not as
remember,
fast.
right? That's what exactly. I with you. I mean, to be honest though, like
you do notes?
the AI meeting notes for me has been like the greatest gift, because now I feel like I can be 100% paying attention. I can go back to my transcript. The summaries are incredible. So that has been like one of the things that I love the most out of this new
Especially the
technology.
productivity. Like you can
Yes,
actually like, summarize this. So I was like, this is the type of stuff that I was like, man, where was this 20 years ago? You know, how much more advanced I would have been. It's amazing. So no, again, like Sharon, I look forward to, you know, continuing to work with you through Inspire and obviously CIO Council. Thanks for doing that. I mean, it says a lot, and I look forward to it. Thank you for coming on this and paying it forward to the community. You are probably the definition of doing what we're trying to do here. I mean, you literally like, I feel like I got to do more shit now. I got to definitely do more stuff now because I got to keep up with you because I mean, what you're doing for the kids, that's a soft spot for me. I like to probably introduce, I know your plate is full, but I'm involved in a couple of different organizations. I got to shout out. One is Red M. It's an organization that is a fight for human trafficking. It's very important. I mean, it's just a really disgusting, nasty thing out there that, you know, protecting this youth is everything. And then also this organization called His House, which is a Christian orphanage in Miami that we've been working with for a long time. So I have a soft spot there. So like anything that we can do, I even want to try to bring some of this stuff, education from an IT perspective, to that community too, because it could change their life. It could change
your life. I agree 100%. It goes back to representation and being part of the community. So yeah, I would love to learn more. No, thank you for having me. This was great. This has been fun.